Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being with us. Sorry, as we get things set up for this panel, please bear with us for a moment. I'm going to hand things over to our moderator for today, Carolyn Ginsberg Stern, who is currently manages the Center for Hearing and Aging under the auspices of the Center for Hearing and Communication, CHC. And following this, of course, we have a reception upstairs from JDRC. So please stay with us, and we look forward to seeing you right afterwards. Over to Carolyn.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Thank you. Before we start, I just wanted to thank Ravi for organizing the whole festival. Doing such a nice job at helping all of us come here today. And I also wanted to just mention, in addition to JDRC, the Jewish Deaf Resource Center, for sponsoring the gathering after this talk. They are providing this in partnership with the Jewish Federation. Okay, so please join us afterwards. Okay. So I'm really happy to be here today. I found the film very moving. And I think the big question for me is, and I think it tried to answer, is music universal, the universal human experience, irrespective of one's ability to hear, and what happens when someone loses the hearing. Can they still enjoy music and be a musician or a critic of music? I just found it very, very interesting. Okay. So before we get started, I just want to let you know I am somebody who also doesn't hear well. I have a cochlear implant in one ear and a hearing aid in the other. I grew up learning music. I really enjoyed it, but I just never understood the draw, like why I just felt like I had to learn it, even though I didn't enjoy it, but even though I knew it wasn't the same as someone who had normal hearing. I thought the film really helped answer a lot of questions about what goes on internally, from a biological perspective, from the brain, and just the raw human need to connect with music and sound and vibration. So I'm just going to take a few minutes now to introduce our panelists. Very special group of people. First, I have Alan Zimmerman, and Jay is a composer, an author, a multimedia installation artist, and a graduate of NYU Tisch. And he recently has an award-winning work called J. Alan Zimmerman's Incredibly Deaf Musical, along with many other shows and theater performances that he's been a part of. And after 9/11, Jay lost his hearing. He's a full hearing individual. And now he relies on lip reading and closed captioning to understand. So we look forward to hearing from Jay. Then we have Wendy Chen. And Wendy is the president and founder of the Association of Adult Musicians with Hearing Loss. She plays 3 instruments. She told me she plays the violin, the piano, and the viola. Is that right? Okay. And her day job is she's a librarian, and she has 2 daughters. She's married, and Jay also has a son, and his wife is here as well. And then we have Alexandria Wells. And Alexandria is an actor and a dancer. She became profoundly deaf at the age of 1 from meningitis. And she is someone who relies on sign language to communicate. She currently dances with the Heidi Lasky Dance Company and has been in Broadway shows as well as a number of films and local theater. And I also just wanted to mention Wendy as well is hard of hearing or has become deaf later in life, and she has a cochlear implant as well, 2 cochlear implants. So I think you're a very interesting panel of different artists who also have hearing loss or are deaf, and look forward to hearing from them. So my first question is I'm going to ask a few questions of the panelists, and then we'll open up to all of you. Okay. So I'd like to know from Jay and Wendy and Alexandria, if you would like to just comment on the film. Did you relate to any of the stories that were told by the 3 examples? We'd like to hear how is it similar to your experience or different. Go ahead, Rob.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Great. And this is now my 4th time watching this film. And it's interesting, when I first started watching it, I obviously connected most to the music critic's experience as someone who had exceptional hearing and then lost it. And whenever you're facing the loss of something you love, you know, you have to go through grief, you have to go through all those stages. So that is definitely one experience. But today I was watching the little girl play the piano. I thought, well, you know what? I have this other experience in common too, which is growing up in a household of people who love music. My mother was a piano teacher and a music theory professor. So I literally have no memory of a life without music or a piano. And so I think those 2 experiences really struck me because I see this film as having 3, right? The subtractive experience of loss, and then the additive experience when you're adding a hearing aid or cochlear implant, how that's adding something new, and then this kind of imitative or replicative attitude when you're trying to be like the people around you. So your first question I thought was very interesting about can you still do music and can you still enjoy it? And I see those as 2 very different things. So I would love to talk with everybody. So that's enough for me. Let's move on to Wendy.
I think I relate to both Nick and to Holly's experience. I first relate to Holly more because, like Holly, I lost my hearing at an early age. My parents discovered after routine school screening that I had lost, I was profoundly deaf in my right ear, and I had a mild, moderate loss in the left. So, and then around the age of 9, my mother insisted that we started classical piano lessons for all her 3 daughters. So, my own memory of learning piano is, of music is learning the piano. So, and then when I turned 16, I decided I didn't want a piano because that was mommy's instrument and not my instrument. So I've been looking for another instrument that I could call my own, and I found like I love the sound of bow strings. I really did. And it's just that a lot of people think if you have a hearing loss, the intonation requirement of bowstring instruments are so hard that it's like an impossible dream. But I did not start violin until I was a college sophomore, and I lived with hearing loss at that time for about almost 15 years. So I had no memory of what it's like to hear with perfect pitch. I never have. But you know, I have worked with my teachers to figure out other ways to create that same sound with a bowstring instrument that a person with normal hearing can. I don't have perfect hearing, but I do have a very good feel for vibrations, and I've been trying really hard to develop my kinesthetic sense so I can know where the notes are for those notes that aren't very resonant. But I also can sympathize with Nick because when I lost the remainder of my hearing the second time around my mid-30s, 31 or 32, it was very traumatic. It happened over the span of 2 weeks, almost like a viral infection. It was a viral infection, but it happened over the span of 2 weeks. It didn't go away overnight, but one morning I woke up and the sound of everything was just muffled like they were underwater, and 2 weeks later, everything was gone. So it was very traumatic because I would have been planning to go away to a street orchestra, a string quartet workshop when that happened. So I kind of sympathize with Nick. But at the same time, I know my own experience is different from Nick. Nick chose not to receive a cochlear implant. 9 months after losing my hearing, I received my first cochlear implant at Johns Hopkins University. And then about 3 years ago, I decided to go bilateral. My thought was, if for some reason something happens to my ear, my implant in the right ear, if I get a second implant, I will always have a backup, and so that was my reasoning for going bilateral. So I can see how I sympathize with those with knowledge. Okay.
Thank you. It's so interesting to be on the panel. I feel honored to be with this group of you, especially because the concept of hearing loss, of people looking at a person and thinking that we're all the same, that anyone who has a hearing loss is just like everybody else, it is so not what the experience really is. So the journey of one individual was reflected in this movie by having 3 different journeys housed within that concept of hearing loss. In my perspective, I really see this as a spectrum of hearing losses. And I could have, of course, out of the 3, I related most to the dancer because I've been a dancer all my life. I moved into the acting world and now I do both. It was very interesting to connect with the science of the movie, the focus on how the brain has plasticity, and that I related to right away, because when I had meningitis and I lost my hearing, my parents took a very proactive approach. They wanted me to learn to sign. They wanted me to learn to hear with the use of a hearing aid and have speech training. And so at a very young age, I was exposed to all methods of communication, and I think that really helped with the plasticity and development of my brain in incorporating all of these inputs into the way that I understood sound. So, and their individual stories I also related to. I mean, clearly there was no signing in the movie, and I do sign, so there was a difference there. I don't have a cochlear implant. But it was a very good experience too, because music is a huge part of my life. I have an iPod. I could show you all the listings of songs that I've got downloaded onto my iPod. And with my training in dance, growing up since as a young girl, it's been a part of my life. I went as a college student. I was at the University of Art in Philadelphia, and I have a BFA in modern dance, just to go on a slight personal story. And one morning I was taking a ballet class. Every morning, it was at 8:30 in the morning, you know, everybody had to get up and get there to dance. And it was a 2-hour dance class. So somewhere in the middle of the dance class, across the floor, the teacher, who was a very old man from Eastern Europe, his last name was Pap. And he had a beautiful body, you know, the way his positioning was always perfect, and the pianist would be playing the music, and he stopped everybody and took me and said, "Please do the combination across the floor." So I did it, and he said, "Thank you." And then he looked at the rest of the class. And again, I just want to reinforce that I was the only deaf person in that class, and I'd been in the program for about 2 years. So he stopped the class, and he pointed me out and said, "She is deaf. She is not relying on her ears to hear the music. She's using her body. She has the musicality, and you can have that too." And everybody, it was just such an astonishing moment for me that at that moment, it reminded me of, even though we're just going along in our lives, people have perceptions of us that can shift because of our presence and shared experience in a moment. And you know, I've never thought about that. We don't think about it. That rhythm is not just coming in through your ears. It's not limited to your ears. It's a whole body experience. you have rhythm, or maybe you don't have rhythm in your body. I mean, we're all different, right? So we all use our ears in different ways.
Can I respond to that? Because, I mean, that what you just said is so amazing. Excuse me. And it totally connects to what they're saying in the film, that really, if you think about it, music is a language. And it's a language of what? Movement. Because all sound comes out of movement. That's what causes sound in the world. And so if you're translating that physically through your body, you are living that music. And just watching how expressive she is when she signs. You are making music with your signs. And I think it would be so, didn't she? It's gorgeous.
So kind.
It's really gorgeous. And I would love to, I mean, with the technology they have today, I sometimes, when I work with singers, I use frequency analysis software, which then allows me to have a visual for music. But it would be fascinating to use some of this new technology they have to put devices on your hands and things. So when you're moving, you're making sounds, I mean, making signs that they would produce sounds of some sort that you could hear that music. But I just wanted to respond to that. I think you're exactly right about movement, that you can feel and experience the music. It's not just about the ears. The ears, like they said, are a portal to the music that's constructed in your brain. So that's really cool.
I just wanted to ask one thing. I wanted, if one you could maybe share with us just a little bit about what your association does to provide information for musicians who have hearing loss or help them connect. How does your organization play a role?
Back in 2001, I started realizing there were not many people who were talking about, well, let me rephrase this. The field of hearing healthcare, especially audiologists, they talk a lot about how to get hearing devices to work for speech. But there isn't a lot of discussion about how to get hearing devices to work for music. And it has to do with the fact that for a long time the hearing healthcare profession said speech is essential to human survival, but music is not. Well, if you're an avid musician, you would think that is so wrong. And so I say that it's just not fair. And so in 2001, I met with a couple of friends who were also amateur musicians. And I said, we need to change the tone of this conversation so we can get more audiologists to start talking about, and more hearing device manufacturers to start talking about how to get hearing devices sound better for listening to music and for hearing performance. So we are now a nonprofit recognized by the IRS. We've created a brochure. We've created a book on making music with a hearing loss, strategy and stories. First two chapters focus on how the ear works and how hearing devices now work for speech processing and what are the limits of using speech processing strategies to process music input. And the last chapter of the book features 11 narratives from adults with hearing loss who are also openly talking about the role of playing music in their lives, what strategies they've used. Last year, we put out our first CD. This is a CD that is comprised of musical work performed by 6 people who have a variety of hearing loss. Some are hearing aid users, some use cochlear implants, so we did this CD, and this year we're hoping to revise our web page, because right now our web page isn't readable on mobile devices. We also have an international. We've also gone international because on our online community, because we're spread far apart. We get most of our communication is through our online community. And what we'd like to do for our website to be available in other languages besides English. So, but I'm very happy about the growth of our community, because I think right now hearing healthcare manufacturers are beginning to talk more about making music sound better for hearing devices. And this May, we will also be partnering with Audiology Online to put together 3 webinars. First one is on musical acoustics for audiologists who don't remember anything they've learned or in audiology school about music. The second one is how to program hearing aids to accept musical inputs. And the third one is how to program cochlear implants to accept, to do a better job of identifying or translating musical inputs. And we're also hoping to have a concert in New York City in September. So if anybody's interested, you can check our online calendar for that information. It will be done in conjunction with the Walk for Hearing event happening in New York City on the 28th of September. And
So what are we
organization
wonderful.
is with-
Okay. Thank you. I think we're going to now open up to the audience. If anyone has any questions, please use the microphone so everyone can hear you.
Hi, my name is Patricia, and this is directed to the gentleman down there. I forgot your name already. Jay. I'm a 9/11 survivor and going deaf because of it. And you are the only other person I know who's in that spot. I'm gonna get really emotional right now. I thought I was the only one.
I thought I was the only one. So, I would have to talk to you about it because,
Yes.
I mean, from my experience, I don't know if you're involved with the World Trade Center program at Bellevue. If you're not, then you should be if you live here in the city. But from what I've talked to doctors, they can't definitively say that my hearing loss was caused from 9/11. They could say, well, it was genetically, it could have happened anyway. But it was very much significantly right after that I became profoundly deaf. And I feel from the exposure and the toxins and things
I had
that
perfect
I had
hearing
sinus surgeries
the
and
day
stuff.
before. But, you know, the film also was extremely profound for me because, you know, my whole life was music before this. I was in the arts. And I'm now at NYU as a graduate student, you know, studying disability and deaf studies. So, but I would love to talk to you after this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is my wife over there, so be sure to talk to my wife first. We'll make sure we exchange numbers.
We have time for one more question, comments, thoughts. Otherwise, I've definitely had my share of crying. Thank you. Thank you. I'll let you just close up the panel. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, I just want to take a minute to thank our interpreters today. Their names are Jessica Eames and Candace Wilker. And also, we have a real-time captioner, I believe, in the audience, yes, over there, and her name is Laura Schechter. So thank you very much for being here today. It's accessible to everybody. Thank you very much. We look forward to meeting with you in the lobby upstairs.